Okay, I hope you all enjoyed your tea or your coffee. And we thought for this second half, what we wanted to try and do is think about how to get the best out of our West Highland Way race, whether it's your first race, whether it's your umpteenth race, whether it's a race that you're thinking about doing in the future. I found one of the great things about this race and training and preparing for it is that there's no one way of doing it. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to talk for a few minutes about what I feel I've learned over doing five West Highland Way races and other ultras. And then I'm going to interview Rosie and Paul Giblin, who've also done the race a number of times, and just to get their perspective on the same areas. And hopefully you'll get a feel that there's no one way of doing this and no one way of preparing. But I wanted to think about three areas. One is training, second one is preparation, and the third one is race day. And just to go through those, and just share some of the things which I feel I've learned over the last few years of doing this race. I heard about the race in 2006. I'd had this long-term calf injury and I'd struggled with that, and then I was looking for a new challenge. I've got that sorted out, I've got some orthotics in my shoes, and suddenly I was running pain-free again. It felt great. And I was looking for a challenge. I thought about doing a marathon again, but road marathons don't really do it for me. And I got My Race magazine, and on there was a whole article all about the West Highland Way race. And I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do. And so I got in touch with Dario, and he gave me a place, and I started training for it. And at the same time, a friend of mine had started a blog, and I just thought, blogs look great. I'd love to do one of those. And so I put those two things together, and I thought, right, I'm just going to write down everything I learn about training for the West Highland Way race for myself, but hopefully maybe to help others as well. And I really honestly thought it was a one-off. I thought I'd do the West Highland Way race once, I'd tick it off, and then I'd maybe do something else. But like many people, it gets under your skin. You do it once, and I finished in 22:45, but my quads were just killing me from Kinloch leaving. I had to walk backwards, coming off the Devil's Staircase, because it was so sore. And I knew I could maybe go faster. And so the next year I trained harder, and I was able to get under 20 hours. And then I thought, what if I can go faster again? And I did. And then the following year I struggled a bit, and I was 22:15. And then 2012, I thought, right, I'm going to try and go back to the training I did when I did my best ones, and I ended up taking over 27 and a half hours. So it just depends. This year, I'm back again, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what I can manage this year. But what I want to do, is just to share some thoughts on, again, this is my perspective. This is the things that work for me, or the things that I've learned. And you may find some of this, for some of you, just think, there's no way I'm doing that. I'm not like that at all. And Rosie, and when Paul come, you may find you have more empathy with their style of training and the things that they do. But I say, this is what I feel's worked for me. First of all, for me, I like to have structure. I like to be organised. I like to structure what I'm doing. And so my training plan is a structured plan. And basically, my week goes like this. On a Monday, I go along to our Kilbarchan club, I do a fartlek session. Wednesday, I do a tempo session. Thursday, I do some sort of hills. And then Saturday, Sunday, I try and do an off-road run. And for the first time this year, I've done back-to-back runs. I've never done that really before. And I thought I'd try that, something a bit different. And I'm really enjoying it. I teach swimming on a Saturday morning, so I normally do 10 or 11 miles on the Saturday and then a longer one on the Sunday. But I like to have a structured training plan. The other thing is key for me is having a long run once a month. I remember when I first sat down, I thought, how do you train for a 95-mile race? And there was two things I wanted to do. One was to get on the route as much as I could. And living in Paisley, you can get up to the route quite easily. So I thought, once a month, I'm going to try and cover the whole route over the 6 months in preparing. And then the second thing I wanted to do was try and get longer each time. So my basic plan over the last number of years, which is was to do about a 30-mile run in January, and it was the training weekend this time, which was great. In February, I try and do a 32-mile run. March, it's 42. This Sunday, I'm running with Katrina and a few other friends, and we're going from Tyneside to Fort William. And then April is the Fling. And then in May, I try and do a 2-day run, do 75 miles over 2 days. And that for me is my bedrock. That's the really key part of my training. If I miss the odd fartlek session, if I miss the odd tempo session, that's fine. But I really don't want to miss these, because these are the ones, for me, are the ones that give me lots of confidence and give me the sort of miles in my legs. The other thing that I try and do is work on a monthly pattern. So I try and have 3 harder weeks and then an easy week, and that will be after the long run on the West Hallam Way. So for example, this Sunday I'll do the 42 miles, and next week I'll run 4 to 5 times, but they'll all be easy runs, and try and give myself a chance to recover. I learned that the hard way. The very first West Hallam Way race I did, I built up to the fling, and I was so chuffed to finish that was my first ever ultra. And then I remember going to the club on the Monday, and I was running with friends, and I was just telling them all about this great race and how it had gone and everything. And I ended up doing a speed session on the Monday, and then by about the Thursday I had a pain in my shin, and I struggled with that all the way through to the race, because I just didn't respect the fact that I'd run for 10.5 hours on the fling, and I needed some recovery. So for me, and I think as you get older, I think that recovery time is really, really important. The other thing I try and do is be flexible. I say I've got my training plan, every session planned out from February through to June, but I do try and be flexible. And if I'm not well or things have gone wrong, I do try and change it a bit. But for me, I do like to have a plan and a structured plan that I work on. Preparation. I think one of the biggest difference between running a road marathon and running the West Hallam Way or any ultra is the extra things that are involved in running for that distance. So your equipment, you know, if you have the wrong pair of socks for a half marathon, it's not too bad, because you're going to be finished in an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is, and it doesn't matter too much. Whereas if you've got the wrong socks on for the West Hallam Way and you're running for 20, 25, 30 hours, it makes a massive difference. So equipment-wise, really important to get these things right. And for me, I try and use those training runs, particularly the long runs on the West Hallam Way, to get my equipment right. So, for example, this Sunday when I run, I'm trying out these dry max socks. The last 2 years on the West Hallam Way and the Lakeland race last year, I had real problems with wet feet. My feet were like trench foot at the end, white and giving me so much pain. And so I'm trying different things, and one of the things I'm trying this year is use dry max socks. And so far that's so good, but I've only been up to 30 miles. So the run on Sunday and the fling is going to be a good test for me to see whether my feet will survive a bit longer in these socks. So for me, doing that, it's important. Shoes as well, making sure your shoes are comfortable. I made a big mistake a couple of years ago where I tried a new pair of shoes, and they worked fine. I ran with them in my 2-day 75-mile run and everything. It was great. And then the Sunday before the West Hallam Way, Katrina was doing a 10k and I ran it with her, and I discovered at the end I had big holes in the sides of the shoes. So on the Monday I had to go and buy a new pair of shoes to run on for the West Hallam Way disaster. So what I try and do now is make sure I've got 2 pairs of shoes on the go. So if one pair do fall apart, I've got another pair that I can step into without too much difficulty. And I'm a fan of the Hoka. Sorry. Rucksack as well, try and work out what's most comfortable, whether you want to wear a bum bag or a rucksack. I used to run with a bum bag all the time, but I found sometimes my stomach was a bit sore. As you go on and you lose a bit of weight and you tighten it a bit, and I was finding that particularly after 12, 14, 15 hours, my stomach was getting sore. I think just because the pressure on my stomach with the bum bag. So now I've got quite a light rucksack, one of the North Face ones, and I find that's great because there's less pressure on my stomach. So again, the long runs are the time to try these things out. I remember one West Hallam Way race, I was running with somebody in the first half mile, and their water bottle fell out the bag. And so they had to stop and pick it up, and I thought, I wonder if they've ran with that rucksack before, because if they had, then surely they'd learn that it falls out after half a mile. So there should be nothing that you run with on the race day that you've not tried out in training. And certainly for me, this Sunday, the fling and my 2-day run, that's when I practice and make sure all the equipment that I'm wearing I'm really comfortable with, so that there's no surprises on the race day. Also preparation, I'm working on my food and drink. So practicing what will work. So whether it's water, electrolytes, Coke, coffee, whatever it is, I'm trying out on race day. My first West Highland Way race, I used electrolyte drinks, the same flavour. And by about 17 hours, I was just fed up of this flavour of drink. So I tend to have more water now. I must admit, the last year or so, I've been trying flat Coke. I do enjoy that, especially near the end of the race, as a bit of a boost. But those training runs, in the preparation, it's working out what's right for me and what's comfortable. Also, food. Thinking about what I can stomach and what I can eat. What I can manage for 8 hours is different to what I can manage on the longer runs, and that's where it is difficult, because if this is your first West Highland Way race, the race will be the longest race you've ever done. And so when you get to 15, 16 hours, you will be in new territory, and there's only so much you can do. But as much preparation you can do about food and what works for you. I would say the things that I've learned is variety. I've been guilty of finding one food that I think's the answer. I remember one year it was grapes. And grapes gave me a real boost in a fling race, and I thought, right, that's it. So I just ate grapes for the first 6 hours of a race, and I wonder why my stomach was in trouble. Another year it was baked beans. Baked beans were the answer. And I started eating baked beans almost every checkpoint. But I've realised in the end that it's actually variety that's important. You can't eat the same food all the way through a West Highland Way race. You need a bit of variety. And so this is my pattern now. This is what I've come to. This is a work in progress. But basically, the first third of the race, I try and eat solid food. So for me, it's peanut butter and jam sandwiches, mashed potato, more sort of solid food that I can manage in the first 5 or 6 hours. The second third, I've termed loose food. So things like rice puddings, beans, fruit pots, things like that, which will go down easier. I find I can't chew anything after about 8-10 hours. If you give me something to, even a jelly baby, I find really difficult to chew after I've been running for that long. So I need to get my calories in by more loose food. And then the third food, that should be third, whatever it is, the last third of the race, more liquid food. So soup, milkshakes, Coke, anything that will give me some energy to sort of finish the race off. But don't ask me to eat anything solid in the last third of the race, because I just can't. And so I know that, and so I try and get my food in that way. Preparation, we talked about it. Stan's took great little talk there on preparation. So just thinking about 1 or 2 teams, clear instructions about on your support, and that again is part of the preparation. Okay, race day. So you've trained well, you've prepared well, you've got everything in place. What about the actual race day? What have I learned from the 5 West Highland Way races I've done? First of all, the Friday. If possible, try and get a day off. Now, I know that's not possible for a lot of people. I can take a day off on a Friday, and so I do. And so in the morning, I use it to pack my kit, to get my food ready, get all my boxes ready. If I've got time, I might go onto my blog and watch some of my videos of how I got on in past years to give me lots of positive vibes. And then in the afternoon, after lunch, I try and go to sleep. I go back to bed. I get one of those things that you get on the flights, you know, put some things in my ears, and I get into my pajamas, and I get into bed, and I try and sleep. I can't say I sleep well, but I do doze a bit for 3 or 4 hours, and I just try and have a bit, as much rest. Try and get up about 5 o'clock, and I try and convince myself it's a new day. I've not actually had breakfast yet, but the idea of trying to wake up and think, right, this is a new day now, it's starting. And so when the race comes at 1 o'clock, it's only midday for me because I've just got up. And so I just try and convince myself and get as much sleep as I can. Registration. I would say a few things about when you arrive at registration. One is just try and stay as relaxed as possible. So get there in plenty of time to be able to do all the things that need to be done. Don't give yourself any stress. Make sure you've got all your gear. Make sure you've got your shoes. I remember someone arrived one day and realised that the shoes were left behind and someone had to race back to the house to get them. You don't need that, do you? Just try and stay as relaxed as you can and ready. I would say don't waste energy. I remember the very first year I did the West Hallam Way, someone described me as a kid in a sweet shop, and I was just so excited to get on with this race, and I was going around greeting everybody and talking to everybody and really hyped up, and then it came to 1 o'clock to start the race, and I've wasted so much energy. I remember the second year when I did the race, someone said to me, you look really chilled out this time. And I was, because I really wanted to save the energy for the race. I didn't want to waste that energy. I wanted to keep it for the run. And the other big thing, I think, is just to stay as positive as possible. If you start with a really positive frame of mind, that's going to help you right through the race. I've found that for myself. And then, for the actual race, the race plan. Now again, everyone's different in this. These are my thoughts. These are the things which have helped me get through the West Hallam Way. For me, I love to break up the race into lots of little mini sections. And I know I'm a bit over the top with this, but again, that's me. And to start off and think, right, I'm running 95 miles is a long way, and it's quite difficult getting your head around that. So I love to break it up. And each section I break up into 3 or 4 mini sections. It's all on the blog if you want to have a look at it sometime. And I find that helpful. So for my first one, I run to the end of the forest where you turn left, where Mike Mason got lost and John Steele. That's the first one. It's 2.2 miles. I want to do that in about 23 minutes, 50 seconds. No, just to make sure I'm there, nice and comfortable. It keeps me on pace. And it makes sure I don't go off too quickly. And all I've got to think about is that first 2 and a bit miles. And then when I get there, the next one is just after the road, when you go through the gates, so at the top there, that's my next one. And then there's Beech Tree, and etc. And I just break it down into little sections. I have my watch on the mini sections, so I'm not thinking about the overall time, and I'm just looking after every little section. I find that works for me. And so I don't worry about overall, I just think about the next 2 or 3 miles. I can run 3 miles, that's no problem. I can run the next 3 miles, that's okay. And just keep that going all the way through. Rest stops, for me, I have a policy of trying to have a maximum of 5 minutes. I don't want to stay any longer than 5 minutes. My best West Hallam Ways when I've been under 20, my overall time of stopping is about 35, 36 minutes overall. And that again, just keeps me moving. I try and eat on the move as much as I can. So when I get to a checkpoint, I might change my top, I might get some food, but I'll take some food with me. I know when the next hill is, and when the next hill, I'll eat on that hill. And I try and don't change anything waist down. So for me, I run with the same shorts on, the same socks and shoes, right through the race. But I do like to change my top. So every 4 to 5 hours, I'll change my top, have a quick towel down, and then be able to put on a clean top, and it just seems to give me a new burst of energy. Now, that works well when things are going well. And my little mini splits are great when you're on target and everything's going well. The year I did my best race, my 1951-59, pretty well, I was on target every step of the way. And if you look at my prediction to my actual, it's within a minute all the way through the whole race. And it's great. And you feel so good that you're staying on time. When I took 27 hours, then it was tough because I was working on 21 hours that year. I gave myself an hour leeway. But very quickly I was slipping back. And after about Benglass, I just ditched the plan. And the only aim I had was to finish, because I knew I was struggling. I knew I wasn't running as well, various whatever reason. And so I ditched my little plans. I didn't even think about the time, and it was just a case of getting to the finish. And so I had to change that plan. And I'm trying to think about what I should do this year, whether I should have a detailed plan or whether I should go with the flow a bit more. So watch this space. I'm deciding in the next few months. But the other thing I would say is that I don't even contemplate DNFing. It's not even on the agenda. Okay? I'm going to get to that finish, come what may, except unless I'm injured. Unfortunately, I've not DNF'd in an ultra, but I would do if I was injured. But I've had some tough times. I think I was the second slowest in 2012 from Kynaston to the end. It took me over 7.5 hours. Katrina walked with me every painful step of the way. She was dreading every time we came to the mountain rescue guys, because I kept stopping and sitting down and chatting to them. And I kept telling them, I do go quicker sometimes. I'm feeling very sorry for myself. But I wanted to get to the finish, and I was prepared to get to the finish. And so for me, my race plan is DNF is not even on the agenda. And I suppose my overall race plan is to try and still be running from King's House. That first year I got to King's House and I couldn't run, and I had to walk the rest of the way in. And the next year, my mantra was, I want to get to King's House with enough left to be still running. And that's certainly been my aim, and that will be my aim again this year. And that just keeps, early on in the race, just keeps making sure that it's no good being able to run strong at Inversnaid or run strong at Benglass if you're crawling by the time you get to King's House. I want to be able to have enough left to be able to keep going from King's House. Okay, so there's some of the things that I've learned over these last few years on training and on preparation and on the race day.